Alright, this is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we're going to answer a big question that I get oftentimes, and how it came up was my friend who I'm helping design, raised beds at their house. He's like, John, how tall should I make my raised beds? And, I said, well, my raised beds range in heights. And I said, he's like, I said, how about like 12 inches? I think that's a pretty good height. He's like, well, man, I want to do 24, man. More is better. There's going to be more soil in there and more spaces for the roots to go. And I'm like, you know what, Rick? Most stuff, actually, the roots don't really go down that far, especially like most veggie or, common fruit and vegetables. Fruits meaning like tomatoes and cucumbers, because botanically they are a fruit because they have seeds inside. So I'm not talking about fruit trees or shrubs, because those you'll probably need, something, a lot deeper. But for standard planting, your standard vegetable garden, I think 12 inches is probably pretty good. If you want to be sure, maybe go 16. But you know what? Then what happens is you start to waste extra money in materials and extra costs, and included in like buying extra compost and organic soil and things to fill your beds, because that gets really, really expensive really quick when you're trying to fill a lot larger space. I mean, just going from 6-inch high to 12-inch high, that's going to double your cost in buying the organic compost to fill your raised beds. So I'm here at my front yard garden here, and we're going to check out my raised beds. Got a handy dandy tape measure here. So my raised beds are approximately, about a foot or 12 inches. So you could see, and actually even on the inside, the soil has sunk down, even not up to the top. So we need to refill that. And check out these tree kales. I mean, we could probably measure these tree kales. They go up and up and up and up. So my raised bed that's 12 inches deep is supporting a tree kale that at its peak is, approximately 7 feet. Actually, there's some over there that are 8 feet tall. So you know what? If my 12-inch tall raised bed could handle a 8-foot tall tree kale or tree collard, it's probably got to be good for everything else. So the only caveat, I think, is that if you're going to grow carrots, and long carrots get pretty long, or something like burdock root, and those people that are Japanese know what burdock root is. It's a really long root. Then you might need a longer raised bed. So I think 12 inches is the optimal depth. So I would say go for 12 inches. But I have also grown with good success in shorter beds as well. So we're going to right now go to the community garden, and we're going to check out some of the shorter beds that I've done that has also worked. So let's go ahead over the community garden and check out what I've done over there. Alright, so we're here at my community garden plot, and this is actually my first community garden plot. And when I built this plot, what I got this free plastic lumber off Craigslist. So that's what we used, and when we got this, basically it was twice this height. And I figured it'd be too tall, and plus we didn't have enough of this plastic lumber to do the whole plot with it if we didn't cut it in half, so I would have to buy more. So I decided at that point to cut it in half and then make my raised beds, and let's measure how tall this is. My raised beds in this plot are actually like about 4.5 inches tall. We'll show you again there. It's about 4.5 inches tall. And let's see, we put these 1x1 stakes on the corners, and we probably should have did it about every 3 feet. We probably did it every 6 feet. And this has held up really well for many years. If I was going to do this again, I definitely would make it higher. So, you can grow in raised beds even as short as 4.5 inches. It's done really well. I've grown tomatoes in here, and this is the winter garden in here now. We have cabbages and collards and chard and arugula and fava beans and a whole bunch of snow peas growing. So 4.5 inches will be fine. If I was recommending it to people, I would probably say at least go with 6 inches, and let's go to my other community garden and check out how tall it is over there. Alright, so this is the second community garden plot that I did, and I did a couple things differently than my first plot. Number one is I only put 12 inches of space for walkways in the other plot. That's because it's really small, and I figured, 12 inches are plenty. But when stuff starts growing up, let me tell you, 12 inches between the plots is not enough. I'd recommend at least a minimum 16 to 18 inches walkways between the plots, and definitely more if it's like a main walkway where you could maybe take a wheelbarrow through, or a garden cart or something like that. But let's get back to the height. So after I did that one and it was like 4.5 inches tall, I was like, you know what, that's not quite tall enough. I really want to do it taller. So then we built these, and these are out of the same wood actually we're using at the house there, using the same stakes, the plastic stakes to hold it up. And this is a good basic construction. It's been held up really well. This is about a year old now, and it's doing really well. And you know, if these go bad, we could go ahead and just replace them. So they're easily unscrewed here. So the construction is, we could get a close-up on the construction. We basically just put these stakes in, and we use the plastic stakes here, and we did these, I don't know, about every 2 feet. So this one has, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 things supporting this. I think this is about a 4-foot run here. And I would also recommend one at the corners. I don't know why we didn't do one at the corner over there. Oh, we screwed in the corners there. But yeah, this is a good basic construction for an easy raised bed. You can make out of just wooden fence boards, and they're relatively inexpensive. Actually, these are the 3-inch ones. But let's see, let's check the height here. So the height on this is actually 7 inches. So I think 7 inches is probably, you know, a pretty good height. You know, I didn't want to waste too many fence boards because now these would be fence boards that I'd have at home to replace ones at my house, which is a lot more important than the community garden plot. So 7.5 inches here. So back to construction. These are cedar fence boards. Also, either use cedar or redwood fence boards. They're the best. I probably wouldn't get this. I wouldn't get this thickness. You know, this is about a 3.5 inch thick. Normally they come in about a 6 inch. So you could just do one 6-inch, which actually is, it says it's 6 inch, but actually it measures 5.5. So just one layer of 5.5 all the way around would probably be really good. And you know, if you wanted to do two 5.5s, you know, that would give you about 11 inches, and that would actually, you know, I don't think you would really need to go much taller than that. So let's see, we're gonna go back to the house. All right, so we're in the front of my front yard raised bed garden, and you know, as you get back, what I've done is, you can see all the way down, it's level. So the level is correct all the way down of each bed. It's all level all the way down, but my property line slopes, so it's lower in the front. So I wanted to make all the raised beds level all the way down. It looks a lot nicer. And so that means in the front, you know, my raised bed is much taller. So let's see, in the front I have, basically it's 31 inches tall is how tall my raised bed is in the front. Now, you know what? 31 inches tall is pretty dang tall, and you know, do I really need it that tall? I can tell you definitely not, because you know, after the seasons pass, we pull up the different plants, whether it's the bok choy, the arugula, tomatoes, peppers, and whatever. You know what? And most things don't root down more than 12 inches. So here's a perfect example. We're just pulling up the dinosaur kale or lacticino kale. You could see a couple leaves still up on there, and this is how big the plant got over, basically I think this is about a year's worth of growth. And we pull this up, and I mean, this thing in itself is probably like 3 feet tall. And down here is what I want you to focus on, is, you know, the root system. So I mean, it pretty much went down to this root system here, and I mean, these roots went out a little bit, but you know, these got cut off. But you know, the root system really is from here down. So I mean, the root system, and why don't we measure this for you? So the root system really, I mean, maybe we go that far. I mean, maybe the root system's like, I mean, maybe 8 inches total. So if your beds are 12 inches total, you know, this is gonna be more than enough space. And that's one of the things about raised beds. You can specifically control the nutrient quality that's in the beds. I mean, all my beds are filled with organic compost. So, you know, it's like, when the plant's getting all the food it needs, you know, the roots don't need to go far, because, you know, the plant has all the nutrients right there where it needs it without having to grow real far roots. I mean, the reason why the plants have roots that are really long is because it's searching out that food, you know. The roots are going to go out as far as they need to get good nutrition, and if you have nutrition in there, you know what, they won't even need to grow that much. I would recommend organic compost or organic potting soil. You know, depending on what you could have, I definitely would encourage everybody to get organic compost. And the other thing that's really, really, really important, and I'm going to do a show on this really soon, is using rock dust minerals. Rock dust minerals adds basically minerals back into the soil, which makes your plants more healthy, more vigorous, more disease resistant, and you know, actually much bigger. You're going to have, you know, much bigger harvests, and they've done studies on this. Visit the website remineralize.org for more information about rock dust. It's really beneficial, and if it's one thing that I really highly recommend, and I don't usually like to use too many, products to go into my soil, aside from what I find I really need in the rock. This is essential. All right, so I hope you've learned today how deep to, build your raised beds. Definitely go with the goal of 12 inches, but if finances or materials can't afford that, definitely 6-inch minimum, 12-inch maximum. If you want to go higher, that's good. Oh, but the other thing that could happen is, on these beds, when they get really high, you definitely need to do some engineering to, basically make sure they won't bow. So the problem we had is that the beds were built and they started to bow because the soil in there is so high and it gets so heavy and it's pushing against the boards. So we started having bowing wood, and we had to go back in there and reinforce that. So if you do build them high, definitely think of that ahead of time. So this is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. Keep on growing those greens.